This episode's sponsored by Vorbos. Check them out in the description below. We get to make podcasts for a living. We don't want to get too bogged down in being like other people have this and other people are doing this. We're focusing on what we're doing. And what we're doing is, I'm not taking any prisoners this next year, bro. We got paid.
We did, and we're still here.
We got
the lights
paid.
are on.
The lights are on. This is where if we had those bells, we'd ring them. We'd be like, ding a ding a ding a ding a ding.
Yeah, that was a stressful couple of days.
Dude, that was stressful.
That was a stressful couple
It feels
of days.
so good.
And I said in the last episode I wasn't sleeping. I was genuinely not sleeping.
Yeah.
The fact that Friday came and it started to figure itself out, I was like, okay, I can now breathe and actually like go back to living a normal life.
Yes.
Briefly.
It makes such a difference. And also the crazy thing is as well is that like this isn't even money for us.
I know.
Like when we're like,
but that's what I was saying to you like last time. It's like that's when more pressure's on you. It's like I can deal with not paying myself.
Yeah.
As can you. It's when you're trying to pay everyone else.
That is true.
That's
But it's important to note that when we're like, oh, we've been paid, it's like we're not even taking money out of the business.
That's true, yeah.
When we say we've been paid,
the
we
business
mean
has been paid.
Yeah, the business has been paid.
Barney's been paid.
Barney's been paid.
Basically,
the rent's been paid.
Yeah.
Or Barney will be paid.
Yeah.
But Barney's sitting there thinking, we haven't actually been
pre-ordered 5 bags of rice.
Yeah, sweet. Well, then you land. Good.
But no, so yes, it's definitely very, very good to be paid, and it just takes a lot of the pressure off.
It does, and things are looking really bright.
They're looking really positive,
off the back of it, which is crazy. This is what we were talking about the highs and lows of running a business. On Thursday evening, things were looking a bit gloomy. I wasn't sleeping well. I was just like stressed about money.
Yeah.
And then you come to today, and you're like, wow, okay, we're completely the other side of the coin. Completely the other side of the coin. The prospects are huge. What's happened in just the last few days, it's like...
So
wow.
For context, one of the things that we've been looking at doing, which I think we might have touched on in last week's episode, but we're going to be launching a B2C arm of our studio. So right now...
Which is business to consumer.
Yes. So right now our business is purely B2B, business to business. So we're only serving other businesses. So we're offering a production package for companies. We then film it, edit it, give them all the content as a kind of all-inclusive deal. But we're now going to be opening up another arm to the business, which will be offering anyone who has a podcast or wants to record in the room to use our studio. We're going to be offering that as another arm of the business, which should be quite good.
It'll be really exciting. So if you're listening and you are thinking about starting your own podcast, we'll put a link in the description to below and kind of check out our website and have a look at what we can offer. But it's basically a much better product for less price than the competition.
Yeah, that's a really good way of putting it. We have like customizable LEDs, as you can see here on the desk, so you can change the color of these lights. You can change the image, obviously, on the TV. You wouldn't have to do your podcast with our logo on it. So you can put your own like logo and branding on the TV, and also the ornamentation behind me here. So like, if you want to put like different ornaments and stuff on the shelving, you can do that too. So it's a lot more customizable than the competition as well.
Definitely.
Is nice.
Which is really ironic. You'd think other podcast studios would have done that.
They don't do it like we do, baby.
They don't.
They don't.
Not the ground floor way. Not the ground floor way. That's exciting. So we're launching that in the next couple of days, which will be really cool.
It can be really exciting. I think it's also another way to, because obviously at the beginning when you're starting a business, the main thing is you're worried about covering costs, as we've established quite heavily. When it comes to paying rent, paying staff, you want to make sure that you can cover costs. So having another revenue stream will be really
it will be
really exciting.
I hadn't even thought of it like that, actually. We're now at the point where we've got the cost covered and we're profitable, and now we're just like, okay, how do we add strings to our bow? How do we get more money coming in? I hadn't thought about it like that. It's literally until now. That's crazy.
Yeah, but it is true.
It is. No, I know.
There's a cool should we talk about the forecast? Because I thought that was pretty cool.
Okay, yeah.
So we were crunching the numbers.
Which, by the way, if you had said that to me when we set this up 3 months ago, I would have said, you're smoking something and I'll have a bit of it.
Yeah.
100%.
That's your favourite phrase as well. That's your favourite phrase.
Like,
I don't know what you're smoking, but I'll have a bit of it.
No, it's crazy. Like, to think that we're here. We could potentially be here where we are now.
Exactly.
At the end of the month I wouldn't have thought that 3 months ago.
Yeah. So Skeeth was running the numbers by me today, and essentially he was looking at the forecast for what we're looking to make this month in the worst case, and then what we're looking to make this month in the best case. So on the bottom end, at the lowest we'll be making this month is 4.5K.
Yes.
And at the high end this month, we could potentially.
This is where it gets tasty.
We could potentially be making, drumroll please, 15K. Pretty sexy. So obviously that is a massive range.
Yeah. Although that sounds crazy, but it actually is not that unfeasible that could happen.
Yeah.
That's obviously best case scenario, and it might not. But actually, the person that's going to be quite pivotal to that increase is really keen to do it and is wanting to do it. Just needs to get one more signature on the piece of paper. Yeah. To get it done.
We're very, very close.
Yeah.
So that would be huge.
It would be.
and we'd be really excited. And also, she's so cool, man.
Yeah.
Like,
I really want to work with her.
Yeah, I didn't
Like-
even get a chance to speak to her.
Yeah.
But this potential client, he spoke to her twice last week, and like, she seems just awesome.
Yeah.
Which is
She's really switched on with it.
Yeah, and that's what's great also about this business, because when you're doing a content-based business, working with people where you have to kind of drag them along to explain
Yeah,
to
I know
them
what
why
you
it's just it's fine, you can do it, but it adds another step.
Yeah.
Whereas when it's like they get it, they get why it's valuable, and they're excited about it, it's like, half the legwork is done, because then you really enjoy working with them.
Yeah,
So
no,
it
I
makes a big
agree.
difference.
I wasn't even really thinking about the money when I was talking to her. I
Yeah.
was like, I genuinely just really want to, help you build what you're trying to build, because it's
Right.
exciting. Like, obviously I had it in the back of my head, but I was like, actually, no, I really want to work with you.
100%.
It makes a big difference when they actually know what they're talking about and they've got the right reasons to do what they're doing.
Hugely.
Yeah. So basically the figure of 15 is actually quite achievable. We'll see if we actually do it by the end of the next couple of weeks. But yeah, it's definitely achievable, which is crazy.
It is crazy, man.
Dude.
It is crazy.
3 months in,
Yeah.
right? Like, if we had said when we started this agency,
Yeah.
should we go into the fact that we nearly ditched this completely?
Yeah, fuck it, why not?
Yeah, fuck it, why not?
Since the last episode.
No.
On Friday night, actually, we were going to shut up shop and think it's all fucked anyway. Let's give it a miss.
No, when we started this business, we were just struggling to get it off the ground, because we just launched the agency, and the agency wasn't even in our original plans. That's actually probably good to give clarity to people.
Definitely.
Actually in this episode. So the way we didn't set out to launch an agency, we actually set out to launch a studio business. So we launched the podcast, obviously, as you know from the last episode. We then got the studio, got it furnished, got it set up, and the initial plan was to originally do a B2C business. It was to make a studio that people could hire by the hour, and then
consumers basically can come and
could come and just record their podcast on a you book an hour, you come, you do it.
Yeah.
And we then quickly realized that the money, with what we were looking at potentially undercutting the competition on price, but like quite significantly.
The time investment, I think, involved versus the upside reward of the money that we could have got in wasn't worth it.
It was terrible.
It was worth it up until someone gave us the idea of a B2B podcast production agency.
Yeah.
And that,
because we ran the
changed
numbers
everything.
and it was like we would barely have been making $1,000 each, and that was if
like
if we
decent
were
capacity.
rammed, if we were rammed. And then someone mentioned B2B, and they were like, that could be an option. I've even been pitched B2B services for
some
this.
ludicrous numbers.
For some crazy numbers. So we thought, okay, well, that could be an idea. We looked into it and we were like, well, actually, dude, if you think about it, and we ran the numbers. I remember when we ran the numbers, and
I remember when we were sat there like in your car,
yeah,
and you were having a conversation with me, and you're like, I think you might need to leave your job sooner than you think, because we need to now go out and raise funding and try and expand across the UK.
We were talking about raising funding.
I remember that, and we were trying to come up with like a valuation for it and like how much we want to give away and all this kind of stuff.
And then we realized it wouldn't make any sense to fundraise.
No one would have come near that with a shitty stick.
Yeah, but my point is I remember when we were talking, we were on the numbers, and I was like, dude, if we had like 30 consumer clients doing one every single week, so we're doing 30 hours a week, we'll make this, and it wasn't even that high of a number. And then I was like, but if we have, it was like 2 or 3 clients at X amount, we'll have the same amount. And it was like, whoa, okay, that's 3 people, way less hassle, way more efficient, and way more profitable than having to manage 30, 40 different people. And someone comes in late, someone breaks something, someone's forgotten, it's a nightmare. So then we pivoted to B2B, and we decided, okay, we're not going to rent the studio out, we're just going to target businesses. But then it didn't go super smoothly.
No, it did not.
At the very beginning,
No,
as these things just do not.
No, you kind of learn as you go, and you figure stuff out, and you make mistakes. And we were naive enough to, I don't know, naive or like arrogant enough maybe to think that we could come into a market with a completely untested product, realistically, no idea whether there was a demand for it. Go in, charge a high price without any testimonials or like proof of concept or anything at all, and send out a few emails and assume that we were just going to be pretty booked off the back of it. Yeah. And then we weren't. Funny that. And we were like, I don't think there's a market for it, man. I feel like we should probably just pivot to focusing on the podcast and trying to build that, because this is just a bit of a sinking ship. Let's like cut our losses and go. And then we both sat down with each other and we were like, okay, let's not like we're too early on in it. This was like a month in.
Yeah.
Okay, this was like a month
Which
in.
I think, by the way, to interject, I think that's a really good lesson for people that are starting a business, because it's very easy to get disheartened in the early days.
It's so easy to quit.
So easy to quit. And also not even just quit, but I think one of the things that plays a factor in quitting, a big factor, is shiny object syndrome. It's that thing of you see, you're struggling to get your thing off the ground, and then you see someone else that's doing this thing and they're doing really well, and you're like, oh man, that's really hard. And I've had that with so many different things. And so, making that decision to be like, you know what, let's not pack it in just yet.
Tough it out.
And we've both had this. We've come so close to quitting so many times, and we've both come to each other at random points when the other one's like, maybe we should pack it in. The other one's always been like, no, we're not packing it in yet. We'll figure it out. Let's give it another week, or let's give it another month. Then we'll see. And those times of wanting to quit get more and more infrequent, because the more I think you come close to quitting and don't quit, you then become more resilient, and you understand the game more, and you understand more that like, no, I know I'm going to want to feel like I'm going to quit, but if I do push through, it will be okay.
That's a very good point. You start to get used to the feeling of getting close to quitting.
Exactly.
And understanding that that's not, you see a lot more to the picture than just that. And you
Exactly.
think, right, I can get past this because I've done it before. I'll get a couple of little wins along the way, and I'll just keep going, and we'll figure it out.
Right. And
But
so,
there is a learning process involved with that, because this is also what I was saying to you. I've said to you so many times. You've said to me as well. Like if either of us were doing this on our own, we would have just quit.
Dude.
Like there were so many points where we would have just thought, I'm done. I just don't want to do this anymore. This is grim.
100%.
This is just grim.
And weeks like last week where you're stressing about money and payroll and like,
to have
man.
to have that just on one shoulder is a lot.
But it's funny because I said it in the last episode. The crazy thing about starting a business is week to week. 1 week we're like, dude, by the end of next month we could be doing like 20 grand a month for the business.
Yeah.
And then the next week you're like, are we even going to pay rent? Last episode we were literally stressing about keeping the lights on, paying rent and paying staff. And now we're talking about having potentially a 15 grand month.
True.
That's the insanity.
That right there, yeah, that just
of starting a business.
Yeah,
It's insane.
it really is.
But so anyway, to the point of quitting, this is the thing, you become so tempted to quit and you come really close, but then you get like a little nugget. And that's what's great, because today we had like a work day today, and we were working together all day today, and we have like a work day every Monday. And it was just, this was the first time in like a couple weeks where we've actually we were both really pumped, and we were excited, and we were both like, dude, this is good, man. We've got something good here. And if we add this in, and we're now both really excited about optimizing the business and improving little things. Like we found little softwares we can use, and let's tweak this, and let's try and add that, and let's respond in this way. Let's, change this script. And it becomes about improving it.
Definitely. But I feel like there's a maturity that comes with that as well. Like I look at the other businesses that I started, and I don't think I was mature enough to run a business. I look at myself now and I'm like, yeah, okay. Now I'm ready.
I think
to start my own business and actually deal with the lows and get through it.
I think you've fallen into your role really well. I think you have a maturity when it comes to the parts of the business that I don't like handling. You have a real, I feel really secure in your ability to handle those things when it comes to things like invoices, and like organization and like forecasting and things like that. You're really switched on with that.
Thank you, man.
Really switched on with that.
No, I appreciate that. But it's like we've said before in the episodes, it's like finding someone that complements your skill set so nicely is the perfect person to start a business with. Like, it just is. But it's it needs to be built up over a number of years, as we've like talked about on other episodes.
Definitely.
But yeah, no, I feel like I'm now mature enough and ready to start a business and actually build it and scale it.
Yeah.
If we were doing this 3 years ago or 4 years ago, I don't think either of us would necessarily have been ready.
I agree. But
I feel like things again happen for a reason. I always say this, but it's.
But I also think
true.
what's interesting is, that when, like, I feel like I've matured as a person over the last few years of my life anyway. But I also think that in the process of building these businesses, both the podcast and the agency, over the last year, I feel like that's also matured me so
100%.
much. And so it's kind of like one complements the other, like washing each other's back in that sense. Because I think I've been forced to mature, because you learn so much about life when you start a business. I was saying the other day, this feels like the last year has kind of been like an MBA. Like the amount of stuff we've had to learn about business has been so all encompassing.
It has.
Things that I would never have had to think about otherwise. And that's really, really valuable.
It really is. Someone asked me the other day of where do I go to learn about running a podcast or starting a podcast? How do I do it? Like, I'm more of a classroom learner, they were saying, and I want to figure out where I go to do that. And I was just like, I'll be honest with you, you don't learn it in a classroom. You just learn by doing. And so many people I feel like they're scared to try, almost. Kind of what we were saying with our mate the other day. It's like, I feel like especially now, if you've even got a little nugget of something that's on your mind that you'd like to try, that will probably fail. But like, just fucking try it.
Yeah.
And just see.
And also, for what that's worth, trying doesn't even just mean starting your own business. Trying could mean working for a startup. Like, if you're, it's that whole thing of,
if you've got an idea,
it's
like
better to be number 3 at Microsoft, it's the same thing. It's like, it's better to be number 3 at Microsoft than a co-founder of something that's, just
everyone's
goes
different.
nowhere.
Everyone's
different.
not everybody has to think, I have a nugget for a business that I want to start.
Yeah.
Everyone might think, think completely differently, which they do. But ultimately, if you're thinking there, you're sat in a job that you don't particularly enjoy and you're like, right, I think I'd really like to be an estate agent and sell luxury properties or something. I don't know, something completely fucking random, whatever it is. Like, just do it, try it, As long as you don't fall into the bracket later in life of having lifestyle inflation, and you can actually afford to take some time to take a bit of a risk and try something, especially in your younger years, like, do it.
I think we should touch on the adaptation in pricing, which is one of the things that's affecting.
That was a learning curve.
I'm actually talking about the coming month in terms of monthly versus upfront, because I think that's an interesting thing when it comes to.
I thought you were talking about the overall price that we've now changed.
There's that too. I probably wouldn't touch on that too deeply because we're not set on the numbers yet necessarily, and we don't necessarily want to talk about that publicly.
Yeah, fair.
But I was more referring to the fact that, so we charge a monthly retainer for our services. That's how it works. So clients pay us on a monthly basis and we provide them that service. And we are also now looking at the option of having clients pay us up front for a whole season, let's say 12 episodes up front. And that's a really interesting prospect, because it means that obviously you get cash flow and you get a big cash injection in one chunk, which is fantastic because it means when it comes to paying Barney, for example, that's a good thing. When it comes to giving us float for the business, that's a good thing.
It's a big plus. One of the guys I used to work for mentioned it to us, I think, as when we were first talking to him. He'll eventually be a client for us as well, but he was saying that to us about if he was doing it himself, that's how he would do it, for exactly those reasons.
Now that this has all come through and everything we were worried about last week has happened and we're all in the clear, what's the next step? What's the plan beyond all of this?
That is a good question.
That is a good question.
Yeah, all this shit about I've been in here 5 hours and I've not got anything to say. Yeah, that is a good question. Next steps, plan for the business.
So the next step obviously is to get the B2C up and running. So we need to upgrade the website to include calendar bookings so that people can actually book a slot.
And an e-com feature.
So that they can use payment.
We want to set up, obviously, finalize the lead generation side of the business as well.
Correct.
And get that sorted. So there's a little nuance, like some couple of nuances there that we need to get set up. Then there's just some admin-y things that we need to figure out as well.
One thing I would like to experiment with is PandaDoc.
I'm not a fan of that.
I don't know why you wouldn't be though.
No, because I feel like it just seems quite
for context. PandaDoc is a service that's been recommended to me by a few entrepreneurs as a way to essentially, when you're signing retainers, it essentially provides a contract that's part of an invoice, but in order to sign the invoice, they have to set up a payment. Which
you're basically paying on the phone.
You're paying on the phone
in the meeting
on the spot
for the service,
which means you're not chasing invoices every month.
It does, but then I also worry whether it would affect your conversions or not, because I feel like if you think about the calls that we have had to date, how many of them have been so secure that they would pay on the spot? None. And I feel like
but we also didn't give them an option, and we didn't necessarily add enough scarcity or enough urgency.
There is an argument for that. Yeah.
Because the thing is, if you're setting up a direct debit, then it just comes out. We'd have to worry about chasing invoices every month.
I'm happy to experiment with it. I'm happy to experiment with most things just to see how it works. Let's go down there. Just have that as a short. Yeah, just that on its own. That 5-second clip. Thanks, team.
Yeah,
that's really fucking great work. Yeah. I'm happy to try it and think we'll see what happens with it.
I just think there's a reason it's popular, and I think
there must be.
There's one thing I think we both have realized is that waiting for here's one thing we've learned actually that we talked about earlier is we've learned that we were giving our invoice dates like 2 or 3 days before the date that we need the money for like rent and outgoings and things like that. So one thing we've learned is to set invoice deadlines at least like a week before that, so that if they are a day or two late, it's fine. We're not going to have to worry about money in the rent account or money in, for paying Barney, whatever it is.
Which sounds like an easy lesson to learn, but
but we learned it.
We did.
But the other thing is, if you do have money coming out by direct debit, then you don't have to worry about chasing any of that. If you just have them sign and say, here's the fee, it's going to come
But
out.
I feel like with the service that we're offering, I think a direct debit would be less applicable. I feel like they're more likely to go down an upfront payment route and do a season, as opposed to just doing a direct debit every month for their podcasts.
But they're paying every month anyway.
Yes, they are. Yeah, but there's a big mindset. Even with me, there's a big mindset shift between paying a bill that comes in and having money immediately go out of your account without your control.
I agree.
There's definitely a mental shift there. I'm not saying we can't try it. I'm happy to try it and see what the reaction is that we get. Just like I was happy to switch up the lead generation, which we needed to do anyway, because what we were doing didn't have any longevity in it. But I'd go into it with a bit of caution, but I would see how it goes. So I'm happy to try it on the next few calls that we have and see what they say. I'm pretty sure it's easy to set up. So
yeah, and it also gives you an opportunity to say, look, we can do it for this price if you sign right now.
Yeah,
and we give them the contract.
Yeah.
As we mentioned in last week's episode, we had an issue with our cold email where we were doing a cold email campaign. We were doing everything wrong because we had no idea how to do it.
It was the first campaign that we'd done.
We'd never done it before. And so we were basically sending it from our primary domain. We were sending like 1,000 emails out in a day, and it was terrible.
It was.
And we got our account like locked and all this kind of stuff, and it was a nightmare. We managed to get it back, but we're like, okay, we can't do that again.
Yeah.
So we found the way to do it. We found a really great roadmap.
And you found it all on Twitter as well, which is worth flagging, because honestly, I've always known the power of Twitter, or X now, and I've always been aware of it. But I've never really spent much time on the platform to see what it offers. But I know we have friends, like mutual friends, that are incredibly successful off the back of building a audience on X. And yet the stuff that you sent me, I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, dude.
These guys are giving crazy value, just like in a thread.
Yeah.
Like, it's nuts. So I would highly recommend anybody that wants to learn about anything to do with the business, definitely check out X, because 100%. There is 100% going to be so much value for you on that.
It's insane. I mean, the framework that we got our new cold email system off was literally one long tweet. Some guy just wrote like, here are the X number of steps to go from like how to set up a cold email, and it was as granular as open up Gmail, click on this,
which is helpful actually when you're setting it up without knowing anything. To go into that granularity is helpful.
And so we just took that tweet and went, okay, we'll just do that, but we'll scale it down to what's applicable for us.
Yeah.
And then we'll just do that. And so we've been doing that, and it's insane. So today we bought 10 domains, which are loosely related to the ground floor, and we are going to basically add users on Google Workspace to basically send out these emails from these 10 domains, so that we're not sending the emails from our primary email domain.
Yeah.
And that way you're sending out less emails a day. You have to warm up the email accounts. There's a whole process to it. There's some technical stuff that we need to figure out how to do as well. But it will mean that we'll be able to build up our cold email arm of the business.
And the running cost of that on a monthly basis would be equivalent to one set of leads from someone on, one like Fiverr or Upwork or something like that. So it's,
and that's, by the way,
more sustainable.
Far more sustainable. And also the cost of what we'll be spending on it, like you said, it's equivalent to someone on Upwork, but that doesn't even include all the stuff you would need to do off the back of it.
Yeah,
so
true.
Let's say it would cost you $200 on Upwork for a batch of X amount of leads. What we're doing will enable us to have X amount of leads, if not double or triple or quadruple that amount of leads, and through doing it safely with the kind of sending methods that actually work, so that you don't get banned. With Upwork or whatever, you're just spending that much money to buy X amount of leads.
Yeah, and you've got to do everything else on the back end.
And you've got to do everything else on top of that.
Yeah, I should have clarified that. Yeah,
so
that is true.
It's way more cost effective too.
It is. And it gives you an insight into a lead generation business, something that we would never have even thought of doing.
But it's also really exciting, because it makes you think about the fact that once we've got this set up, and it will take a couple of weeks for it to kind of be fully set up.
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be teething issues, as there always is.
But once it's up and running, we now have a steady like stream for pipeline, because we'll just keep buying X amount of leads and sending out these cold emails. So we'll have emails going out every single day, Monday through Friday, just forever now, just continuously. And that is huge.
And we've already seen the power of what an email campaign can do.
Yeah.
Just off the back of our first one.
Because if you have like 10 emails, 20 emails, because we have 10 domains. The guy said you wanted to set up about 2 users per domain. So you have 20 email accounts that you're sending from, and you're sending about 10 emails a day. So you're sending about 200 cold emails a day.
With a 1% conversion rate, which is what we've seen, that's 2 meetings off the back of that a day.
Which is awesome.
That is crazy.
And that's, that's assuming we don't scale and add more. That's assuming our clients don't, give word of mouth referrals.
Yeah, that's one marketing method.
Yeah, that's one marketing method. That's that's not taking our Instagram page into account. That's not taking, word of mouth. That's not taking LinkedIn. Like, there's so many things. Honestly, like he said, if you're not on X, make an anonymous account.
Agreed.
And just find a way into money Twitter and start following people. And I actually, to be fair, that's a good thing. Someone asked me the other day, how do I find money Twitter? What is money Twitter? They weren't sure what it was. They thought it was like a page or a group. Money Twitter is just a loose term for a group of accounts in the niche on Twitter of like making money, entrepreneurialism, hustling, that kind of thing. But it's not like Instagram where it's just, watches and Rolexes and whatever the fuck. It's people dropping practical value on how to build whatever business it is in the industry that they're in. So if you want to know how to get into money Twitter and find these kinds of accounts, I'm sure if you type in keywords like, lead gen, drop shipping, e-commerce, marketing, email marketing, whatever, you will find some of these pages. And just, you have to be part of the community. You have to like explore, look around. When you find an account that you really like, I always think it's really good to look at who they're following. And then you go on who they're following and you see some accounts, and then you end up looking at their pages, and then you look at who those people are following. And now you end up building up quite a good network of accounts that drop really, really good stuff. And the great thing is that you can do it entirely anonymously, which is awesome.
Or you could also just reach out to them directly. If you've got questions on a particular topic that you need help with, these guys, I'm sure, are very open to having a chat to you. And I would say to reach out to them directly as well.
You definitely can. Some of them are, some of them probably aren't. Some of them probably don't have time for that because they're making too much money.
Yeah, I'm sure. Like, but people that are making
just watching their accounts and just seeing their tweets and threads, people are dropping insane amounts of free value, just totally free, and it's in a very digestible way as well.
Yeah. And I was surprised when you sent it to me. It made me think twice about actually spending more time on X. Yeah. And seeing it.
Like this thing that we're doing with the new lead gen system that we've got could save us thousands in terms of over like 6, 8, 9, 10 months. Yeah. And it was free. What are you smiling about?
I was just smiling about how much money there is out there. Like, genuinely. Like, you hear these accounts and you see some of the money that the money that they're making off this audience that they've built for themselves, and it's disgusting. Just like, wow.
It's disgusting.
It really changes your mindset of what's possible.
And also I think it's important to clarify. I remember that you said the other day, Iman Gaji, and you said how he's an agency guy. He got into social media marketing, years ago when it was kind of first starting and stuff. And you said it took him how long to get his first client?
So I don't know how long it took for him to get his first client, but I know it took him 7 months to get his second.
I mean, see that
7 months of no wins. 7 months of no wins. And we were ready to jack in our entire business a month in because we were like, our first shitty email campaign didn't work. Yeah. To like 20 or 30 people. There's no market for it.
We sent one shit email template.
A shit email script.
To 30 people. Yeah. And went, business isn't viable.
Doesn't work. So naive.
But it's part
of the it's stupid. But it's part of the process. But yeah, to think that it took him 7 months. I mean, look where he is now. But like, to think that it took 7 months to get to 2 clients just shows like the power of consistency and persistence and all this kind of stuff. 100%. But I also feel like it's like people like him specifically are such good people to follow. Even he provides so much value, just in terms of making money, how to make money, and actually how to like set your life up. It took him 2 years before he even made any money from his business, just to get his own shit right. Yeah, just to get him right as a person. I get in shape, mentally get the right kind of mindset involved. Took him 2 years.
One thing that I would like to touch on is systems and optimizing systems for efficiency, because I've realized that with the consulting work that I do on the side, it was really, really unsustainable, and it was really, really unfulfilling in the way that it was working. And I was really not enjoying the work anymore, as you know, and it also was not getting the results that anyone involved wanted from it, myself included. And I had a big sit down late last week with the guy that I consult for, and we kind of had a big chat about what's going wrong, how can we fix it, how can we optimize it, and we just cut all the fat, and we looked at what works, what doesn't work, who is doing stuff they don't need to do, who is, and we just went in and just stripped everything back. And for the first time in months, we're now like, we're a well-oiled machine, and we're just operating on a whole other frequency, and it feels incredible. I love the work, and I was losing love for the work before. Now I'm loving it again. I'm only working with people that are essential to what I need to do, and that are essential to what we're building. And I think honestly, I think so many people, whether it's even in jobs, it doesn't even have to be entrepreneurs. If you're working a job and you work in a company or whatever, people don't often revisit their systems. They kind of just accept this is the way that it's done.
But this is what I was saying to you. I was so surprised that was the system in place to start with.
Yeah.
I was shocked.
Yeah.
As was, I know, a couple of other people that you talked to about it.
Yeah.
Because I was immediately was like, well, you just got way too many cooks.
Yeah.
Like you're fucking it up. Like, it's just strip it back. Just have the people there that are really actually competent and adding value.
Yeah.
And they will then excel, and they'll get 2 or 3, 4 times as much work done.
But even if it doesn't come down to manpower or people's roles, even if it comes down to, I don't know, the softwares you use, the systems you use, the way you structure your group chats or emails to your team, whatever it might be. But people don't spend, I don't think, enough time generally looking for ways to make their operations more efficient. And they're kind of, I think it's called SOPs, standard operating procedures. But that's something that he talks about a lot, where he's saying, like, you look at your SOPs and you look at like what your procedures are, because that's how you get scalability.
But does that not just affect you at a certain point? I feel like when you're first starting out, your focus is, I just need money in.
Yeah.
That's it.
Money.
And then as you're scaling, then you start to actually tweak your systems and your.
But I think systems are like foundations on a house. I think systems are like, you are like, yes, I'm sure you can go in. That's why you have consultants that go in and look at businesses and go, okay, you're running this like a madman. This is how you should run it. Cut this, fire that, change that. So yes, of course you can do that, but I think it makes more sense to obviously focus on revenue, but you might as well build the house on good foundations.
I agree.
And you could actually end up, I mean, dude, look, even last week we were looking at our outgoings for our ancillary costs, and we managed to cut them in half.
Massively.
We've halved our ancillary costs just by taking a look under the hood. And we were kind of like, we've got these monthly things going out. We're just paying them.
Yeah,
they're probably doing whatever, not really wanting to look at it or being bothered to look at it, because let's focus on clients and stuff, which is obviously good. But the first time we look under the hood and we're like, okay, let's sit down. How much money is actually, aside from rent and aside from Barney, how much money is actually going out of the account?
And it was a decent amount.
It was a decent amount. And then being like, okay, do we need that? No. Why are you paying for that? Don't need that. Yeah. What about that? And then we've cut our costs in half.
Yeah.
Just from looking. And again, streamlining.
Definitely.
And so I think people would be able to save a lot of money and a lot of time.
I also actually think something that I learned today, there's a huge amount to be said for working with a bank that is actually really easy to use.
Hell yeah.
It sounds like a really basic thing to say, but my fucking God, when you start to see the ease of working with a company like Monzo, it's crazy. Like we went through it today. I've always been an advocate of stick with legacy banks because they're not going to go under. It's solid. It's safe. Let's not rock the boat.
Do I get any credit for? Because I had.
No,
to,
you don't.
What are you talking about, dude?
You do. No, you
I
did.
had to bully you into Monzo for years.
You did. No, you did. You did. And I've always had a Monzo account, probably ever since you mentioned it. I never use it. I use Revolut when I'm abroad because I got a better exchange rate. Right. That's all I use Revolut for. But Monzo specifically, as of today, I always thought, you run a business through a legacy bank. It's solid. It's safe. Cool. It's a bit of a pain. You got to call up customer services for 3 hours to like change the amount, whatever. But you sit there and you go through an app today, and it has everything. You can create pots for corporation tax and expenses and ancillary costs, and you can make sure everything goes into each of those individual pots.
Yeah.
You have direct debits coming out of those individual pots, and everything's just really nicely structured so that you know that the money that you have sat in the account is basically for dividends or reinvestment.
Yeah.
And it's just, at the moment, it's all over the place. And that might sound, again, like an obvious thing, but it's really, really helpful.
I don't think it is obvious. Monzo is incredible. I would love to have Monzo as a sponsor one day. I think Monzo are such an incredible company. That's not even a pitch. That's not even a pitch. I just mean
No,
in
I'm
general.
joking.
I've been using Monzo for years.
You have,
and I've been preaching about them for years. And as a business account, it is so sick. Like you said, the pots thing alone, they have a tax pot, as you said, which automatically takes money to pay your corporation tax. You can have a separate pot where you can say, okay, money for this comes out of this pot. This direct debit comes out of that pot. So you're not looking at like one number on your screen and being like, okay, well, I've got 3,270 for random numbers sake, but now out of that, Barney needs this much, rent is this much, ancillary is this much. Okay, I guess that means I'll have roughly that. You can just look at a number and be like, okay, that's the number that I've got. Everything else is better. It's insane.
But I find it crazy how like HSBC, who we're using alongside this, there's nothing like that.
Do you remember that time? It was like a year ago when you had to call up we were at D-Roth's.
Yes.
Oh,
that was to do with crypto. Fucking hell.
That was
insane.
A
headache.
Do you want to touch on
I was trying to, I think just actually withdraw money. I was basically trying to withdraw money from FTX, ironically. Thank God I did. But I was trying to withdraw a lot of money from FTX and take it into my HSBC account.
Yeah.
And they then blocked my HSBC account. I had to call them up. I was on the phone to them for about 2 hours. They said they'd fixed it. I then went back to try and do it again. It got blocked again, and then I couldn't do fuck all with it. And I was like, right, okay, this is now a bit of an issue because I've now got a lot of money in the ether somewhere, not even on chain anywhere, just somewhere. Yeah. And I'm like, this is really quite stressful because it's a lot of money, and I'm really fucking stressed.
Yeah.
And I remember going through that, and ever since then, I was like, HSBC is awful.
Yeah.
And I really,
it's terrible.
I really,
and with Monzo, anytime a transaction goes through,
you get a little notification on
your
phone.
notification. Yeah. On your phone, just do the app.
You do not have that with HSBC.
Huh?
You do not have that with HSBC.
Exactly.
Which I do have set up.
But you do now have it.
You do now have it.
Right,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, but Monzo was the first one.
Yeah, Monzo started
the
that
first
shit.
one.
That was the main thing when my friends were when my friends convinced me to get it, it was like, oh, you see it immediately.
Yeah.
It's not like you look at your bank, you look at the number in your bank, like the 3270 or
yeah.
whatever, and it's like, oh, well, that might change because it's not processed.
Yeah, true.
I remember that.
Yeah, true.
I forgot about that. When I used to bank with HBC, I forgot that you'd look at a number and be like, oh, but then in 2 or 3 days that might change. And you suddenly see it would be less. And you're like, why is that less? Oh, yeah, that thing from 4 days ago.
It's just
that
awful. Like,
so,
it really is.
Yeah, so shout out Monzo. Honestly, one day, if you ever want to sponsor us, we would welcome you with open arms. I've been preaching about your product. I probably got you like 4 accounts at this point from people that I know.
Definitely.
Just raving about it.
Yeah, you have. They're awesome. Yeah, awesome company to bank with.
Awesome company.
So no, that was definitely a learning point today. Going back to your point about what we want to do with the business, should we touch on about like the goals for the business and maybe put some should we put some like quantifiable goals
like
in
out
place?
there so
that we're now
goal.
accountable to the 10 people that are now watching.
Okay. I have the right to veto whatever you say, but go on.
No, it's a mutual discussion.
No, I know, I thought you were going to be like, this is the goal.
Right, these are the goals I've set for the business. No, it's not that. It's more like, okay, like where do we want to be? What are we in now? We're October, 1st October. Where do we want to be?
Oh, yeah, it's the 2nd of October.
2nd of October.
I'll punch you.
Yeah, sweet. Where do we want to be by Christmas? Let's start with where do we want to be by Christmas?
Okay. By Christmas.
Actually, I'll tell you one thing that we said we wanted to do by the end of this year.
Is that have a 10K month?
Yes. That was one goal we set ourselves. We were sat in your car in November last year, I think it was. We just had the idea for the podcast. We hadn't even launched yet. And I said to you, we are going to make 10K a month by the end of next year.
Did you? You did say that?
Yeah, I remember the conversation so clearly. We were parked at the roundabout by Notting Hill Gate Station, sat in your car, and we were talking about it. And this was just from podcast revenue. Just off the podcast. Ambitious, but it was just...
Oh, yeah, that was from just off the podcast.
Just off the podcast revenue, before we had any idea for anything else.
Yeah.
And so that is definitely a goal that we need to put out there. We've said to ourselves we want to hit 10K a month by the end of this year.
That is the goal.
That is the goal. I feel like that's an immediate revenue goal.
Yes.
100%. And I think we can do it. We can even do it this month. We can even, by the end of this month, tick that off. How cool is that?
I mean, yeah, that is very cool if it happens, but because 10K a month,
bit more, a bit more.
No, sorry,
like
yeah, it will happen.
Yeah, I know.
But my point is, I can put it this way, I can very feasibly see how in January we'll have a 10K month. I think
we've already got 2 clients basically signed up that are going to start upfront series in January.
Exactly.
So yeah,
exactly.
But that's not this year.
No, I know that.
We said to ourselves this year.
Okay,
so let's not cop out and say,
no, we're not copping out.
January.
I'm just saying.
Like,
I'm just saying in January.
I agree.
I'm saying. I said that because you almost implied that I don't think we could do it in general, and I'm saying I think we could very easily.
I'm not implying that at all. I know you.
If
think
you gave it
can.
like one more month, I think we could.
Definitely.
But no, I think we definitely can. You're right, and it could happen this month very feasibly.
This month.
What I'm thinking though is if the one-off client that pays everything up front, if that doesn't go through at all, are we still able to? Is it still in our reach?
It's still within our reach. It's punchy, but it's within reach. If we're looking at where we are now, and then where we can get to with the prospects that we have in the pipeline, it's doable. Look, it's punchy.
A lot of those prospects though are dude. I actually think, all joking aside, I think January we're gonna do some bits because we have 2 upfront people who want to pay upfront for a series. Yep. We have about 3 people, probably, I think 3 or so, that want to start in January. Yep. And we have another 3 or 4 people, I think, who are like reach back out to me in January. Like January onwards, January could be
January will be a big month.
Fucking big
and
month,
ironically, next year, Ollie and I turn 30, which is a big thing.
Yeah, that is big.
That's a big thing.
In fact, I turn 29, fucking
20,
wish.
You wish.
I turn 29 this Saturday.
You do. Yeah, you do. And I turn 29 on the 11th.
4 days after that.
4 days after that, yeah. So, yeah. But we always said by our 30th birthday that we want to have money. Like,
we did.
Proper money. And the fact that we're going into January, the goal is obviously 10k a month this year, and we can do it. We can do it, but it'll be tricky.
Dude, I don't know about you. I'm grinding like something about being when I turn 29. I can feel it.
Oh, dude.
Knowing that 30 is a year away,
yeah.
I feel, dude, I'm gonna be a killer. I'm going to grind so hard this next year. I've got especially since we already have the tools. We already have a business. We have an amazing team with Barney. Yep. We've got great clients already. We've got a lot in the pipeline. We've got all the tools. Like, dude, I'm going to grind to fucking high hell.
We all are.
We all are.
We all just want to get to the same point.
Because, dude, I want to turn 30 and celebrate that nicely. Yeah, I want to be able to be turning 30 and not just like to celebrate it nicely and have like a nice blowout or whatever and have a nice party, but also celebrate it knowing that like, okay, cool, I'm going into my 30s with a great foundation.
Yeah.
So
that's been something that's been at the back of my mind a lot as well.
Really?
It's like, because I've just turned 27. It's like, well, the next 3 years is not necessarily like panicking. I don't want to be panicking about turning 30. And I want to turn 30, like the way I've said it to myself, it's like with momentum.
Yes, 100%.
So it's like I don't hit 30 and I'm like, oh God, it's all over. It's like, oh, this decade's going to be
That's how
great.
everyone feels. Everyone I speak to are like, God, are you not terrified about your 30s? Are you not like, how are you feeling? I'm feeling fucking great.
This is what
I can't wait, but that's purely because of the fact that we've got this set up.
Yeah.
And we've now got the foundations, both from like I suppose a mental point of view. I'm like in a much better place now.
Yeah.
But also I think from a financial point of view, like to have these foundations kind of bubbling away at 28, 29, to then act as a kind of, a slingshot going into your 30s. You're like, wow.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about it.
I'm very excited.
Man. But we definitely said to ourselves by 30 we want to be able to celebrate properly and do it right.
Yeah. 30 is going to be big. I can feel it. I'm not taking any prisoners this next year, bro. I'm going.
I feel
so
like
hard.
you know what? I feel like a lot of people our age are in that same boat. A lot of the kids that I've spoken to, a lot of the guys I've spoken
Speaking
to.
of kids,
I'm happy to experiment with most things.
But I feel like a lot of people are feeling that way at this age. It's like, okay, I've done my 20s all wrong. Like I've just been going out, getting pissed, just following the kind of traditional route without any thought around really what I want to do. And I feel like a lot of people hit that between 27 to 29 or something.
See, I think I've had that. I had the fear of. I think a lot of people have the fear now when they're turning 29 because they've done the normal thing and they've got a job and they're not fussed about it.
I know what you're about to say.
Right.
We had it a lot earlier.
Definitely. So I feel like
which made our 20s shit.
Well, I know. I actually don't know. I think when I look back at my 20s, I've had so many insane adventures. I'm actually like I'm the kind of person who will always kind of cling on to the past, which is not good, but I'm trying to get, be more present and, live less with nostalgia and stuff like that. But when I look at the book of my 20s, like doing amateur theatre up in Birmingham and training with a youth theatre for a year and then doing rap and all this kind of stuff and then doing stand up in New York and like all the friends and people I've met and the relationships I've had, I'm like very fucking happy with my 20s.
You've had a cool 20s.
I've had cool 20s.
Mine have been really boring. My 20s were shit.
Yeah, but you have money now, so that's the trade-off. I've had experiences.
That is the trade-off. Yeah, that is the trade-off.
I've had experiences. You've got money.
That is the trade-off.
But the point is, either way, we both want to go into our 30s being like, all right, let's fucking make some shit 100%. Happen now. And I think is the important thing. So to my point, like I was saying, me and you, we had that fear kind of early 20s. We're like, dude, fuck, man, how are we gonna? I can't just be stuck in this rat race. We have to figure this out. So we've spent like 6 or 7 or 8 years trying to find ways to whatever. So now that we have something bubbling and it's like, oh wow, dude, this is working. Now it's just about pour the fucking rocket fuel on it and scale it. That's great. Whereas a lot of people haven't done that.
From scratch.
So they're like, oh fuck, I'm 30 next year. And I think when you start to think about that seriously, and then you realize how bleak it is just working for some random job,
But it might not be bleak. You might be okay doing it. It's all
no.
All
But
about
I
the
wasn't.
mentality.
But what I was saying is, what I was going to say is working for some random job where you hate it and you're not like, you know what I mean.
That
again, clarify
like
again. This is not like, oh, if you're an employee, Like I said, I think it makes a lot of sense. Not everyone should be an entrepreneur. It makes a lot of sense, for people to, like you said, be number 3 at Microsoft or whatever. But I'm saying there's a difference between working a job and being like, cool, I'm working my way up the ladder. The money's good, the benefits are good, the work is interesting and fulfilling, and I've got a cool career path ahead of me. Awesome, dude. I'm talking about the people that are kind of just in a job, just kind of sleepwalking through their day to day.
How many people was the stat that you threw at me the other day?
Oh yeah, I heard this stat. I heard this stat that was like 70% of people don't like their job, and of that 70%, 90% hate their job.
That's a damning statistic.
Yeah, dude.
Was that just in the UK or was that?
I can't remember.
Okay, fine. But even so, though, I mean, that's like. But yeah, I feel like we were different in the way that we were thinking about this in our
we had the
20s.
fear early.
We had the fear early. But yeah, I don't know. I've just noticed it now that because we're running up to our 30s, people are like, fuck. So people are panicking. They're looking at it and they're like, I am 30. I want to start a family soon. I want to have kids. I want to have, be able to buy somewhere that's nice, whatever. And you just think, yeah, it all takes that. Sadly, it all takes money. You want to have a nice life. It does. You need money to have it. So yeah, I've definitely noticed that.
It is true.
It's gone up to 85 now.
85.
70% was from like 10 years ago. It's now like
85%.
More recent poll has it 85% unhappy in their jobs.
And is it still 90% of that 85%?
I don't know about that.
Well, read quicker, Barney. That's crazy, right? 85%.
Yeah.
Well, I can believe it. That actually, yeah. Although I've come across really surprised by that, I can see that. Because how many people do we know that work for someone else that genuinely love what they do?
Just one.
Hey.
This isn't a 9 to 5 though.
Yeah, that's true.
This is almost like
that
the
is
complete
true.
opposite of a 9 to 5, and that's why I'm enjoying it so much.
That is very true.
That is true. Yeah, you're self-employed.
Yeah.
You are, the way it's structured at the moment. You're self-employed.
Self-employed, and
you're working for yourself.
As long as stuff gets done by the deadline,
exactly.
I can do it whenever I want.
Yeah,
and that's a big thing.
True.
That's
huge.
That is huge, and I think from my experience of working for other people, and also even from talking to other people who are in like more corporate spheres, companies don't generally give enough flexibility when it comes to just being like, just get the job done. As long as the work is fine, do it however you feel best doing it. If you want to do nothing for 6 days and then binge it all for 24 hours the day before, fine, go for it. I wouldn't recommend it, but if that's what works for you, fine, go for it. Like, just let people do it how they do it. And
there is so much to be said for that.
Give autonomy and accountability. And also, I think it makes people feel better. Whenever I've been given more autonomy when I've been working for someone else, it makes you feel better about yourself too, because you have a bit more responsibility for your own life. You get to be like, okay, cool. It's my friend's birthday tonight. I'm going to go out for a drink and I'm probably going to get a bit pissed. So I'm probably going to sleep in late tomorrow, but that's fine. I'll just work late tomorrow. I'll make that work. That kind of thing, I think is important.
100%. And companies are just not doing it. People are now like going the other way and saying we want to move away from the working from home thing, and we want to try and draw people back into the office. Yeah. And it's just like, if someone can do their job to as good a standard as working from home as they do in an office, why are you forcing them back?
What about the culture, Skeeth?
What culture?
We build culture.
What culture?
Well, we go to the
your cubicle.
Well, we go to the pub every Thursday, and there's a quiz that we all do. And Kathy from HR, she draws like a little.
What if you don't want to go to the pub every Thursday afternoon? What if you don't drink?
Well, it doesn't matter if you don't want to.
You have to.
It's part of the culture.
Part of the culture.
You'll be a team player.
Part of the team, part of the ship. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Part of the team, part of the ship.
Yeah.
That's so depressing, dude.
It is, but I think a lot of like companies aren't doing that enough, to be honest. Because you look at it, I mean, look at you, like you work whatever hours you want.
Yeah.
Neither of us even really. We don't chase you for anything. It's like we know it's going to get done, and
exactly.
It's like whether it gets put up on Sunday night or it gets put up on.
Yeah, I don't think
Tuesday.
we've ever once had to chase you.
No,
for
he's
anything.
really reliable.
Yeah,
like you just know it's up there.
That's also higher well.
That is also.
What were you going to say?
I was going to say there's also because of like previous issues that we've had with like certain episodes. I also know that I can start at 7 p.m. the night before.
Yeah.
And have it uploaded.
I remember
the
that.
next day.
He's getting comfortable.
Yeah, I
now.
remember
He's
that.
getting comfortable.
Yeah,
He's
exactly.
a fine line. He's like skirting the line. He's like drifting on the edge of the
But
cliff.
it's not so much that I ever want to do that, but it's if it gets to like Friday and it's like, oh god, I've not started.
Yeah,
And then
worst
you look at
case.
your brain and
Yeah.
goes, well, I'll probably be fine.
Yeah.
Couple of
I
tensings
remember
and I'm
that.
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. But also, I think we don't want to get too bogged down in being like other people have this and other people are doing this. Like we're focusing on what we're doing, and what we're doing,
100%.
and what we're doing is because I only say that because I'm conscious of the fact that sometimes I think it's probably quite annoying when you have someone who's like starting a business and they're like, oh, dude, the fucking plugged in people are working their jobs and they're fucking wage slaves and
That's not what
da-da-da.
we're saying, though.
No, I know that, but as in I'm
But
saying,
hopefully that's come across on camera as well. Anybody that's watching it
I
knows
know,
that.
but that's why I think it's important to clarify that.
Yeah, that is
because
true.
it's very easy.
No, we should definitely
You know what I
clarify
mean?
that.
Yeah.
There's a lot to be said for working for another company, even if it's just a normal 9 to 5 in an established bank, or if it's the number 3 at the next Facebook, whatever the fuck it is. Like there is a lot to be said for that. There are so many upsides.
or even working in a bakery.
Or whatever
Whatever
yeah.
it is. Just basically the distinction to be made is whether you're doing something that is in some way fulfilling or if something that sucks the soul out of you. And even then, if you're doing something, you know what? If you're doing something that sucks the soul out of you, but you got kids to feed, I respect it. You're standing up,
Yeah,
you're
100%.
providing for your family, you do what you got to do. Because, not everyone, it's a privilege that we get to make podcasts for a living, We get to make podcasts. We are in the 0.00001% to be able to do that. And we're not even making money from it yet, but we get to do that.
You're right, and that is a privilege. But my
So-
caveat to that is the fact that it took a lot of investment for us to get.
Oh
to
no,
that point.
we've worked fucking hard.
We've
to be
worked
able to do
hard.
this.
We've also had a lot of fuck ups along the way.
Yeah,
Just, I mean,
massively.
in our 20s with previous businesses, as we've said.
Yeah.
In other episodes, but it's like it's not through lack of like effort, trying, risk,
Not even
all this
slightly.
stuff that we've got to that point. So I do think it's worth clarifying.
I think that's a good point.
Like-
And obviously, I for 1 second, with all the money and time that I've spent in it, same as you,
Yeah.
I obviously also get it's.
Yeah.
We've worked. No one can ever say we haven't earned this.
No,
However,
100%.
I just think it's important to clarify every now and then that not everyone has the luck. Like, because also, yes, we've worked really fucking hard, but we've also been born in London. We've got
Yeah, we've had good
upbringings.
upbringings.
We've had good upbringings. We had decent networks and
we've had a lot of privileges. I'm not denying
So
that at all.
if it's important to be like there'll be people out there that are working a job that they fucking loathe and their boss is an asshole, but they got 2 mouths they got to feed back home. So respect to you if you're doing that too, because that's just as valuable.
No, I'm conscious of that, and I'm conscious of the fact that I don't want to come across like a I suppose an insensitive person on camera. Because
Well, you do that anyway.
That's great, man. I'll put that in as well. No, I agree, but I feel like there's a lot to be said for just trying and just trying to figure it out.
Yeah, 100%.
As we have along the way.
100%.
But back to goals. So this
year,
the
goals. Okay.
Right. So 10K a month by this year, and we know obviously we'll probably hit that in January if we don't hit it this year. But we'd like to say by the end of this year, that's what we set ourselves.
Yeah, by the end of this year, we want to have a 10K month.
Yeah. My question to you is, what's your personal goal by 30?
By 30?
What's your personal goal by 30?
That's really.
And
good.
I've asked you here this on the spot. This has not been like pre-recorded or anything like that. This is on the spot. So
Yeah, I have no idea. By 30, my personal goal, is it like what? Like a net worth goal?
it can be whatever you want it to be. It can be a net worth goal. It can be a girlfriend goal. It can be a family goal. It can be a living goal, where you live, what your life setup is.
By 30. I think I'd say, God, that's really difficult. You fully put me on the spot. So that's like, okay, so that's a year. I think with how confident I feel about this business and how good the team is and how relevant the product is and how we've been managed to scale as quickly as we have in terms of potential pipeline and stuff
I
up
really
till
hope you're not
now.
going to say the same goal I'm going to say. But go ahead. It'd be so ironic if you do.
I have no idea what your goal's
yeah.
going to be. Is this like the conservative? Because I think there's differences. There's a range. There's a
There are
conservative
differences.
goal.
Yeah.
There's a that's fine goal, and then there's like the punchy goal.
Yeah.
So what goal are you thinking of?
It's a punchy goal. I'm not
Okay.
really thinking of a kind of realistic, because I'm thinking if I just aim for the punchy goal, I might
you
land
hit
a
the
bit
mid
lower,
goal.
and then you hit the mid goal and you hit the
Okay.
like,
Punchy
okay
goal in a
is
year?
50K a month.
I was going to say 100.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was going to say 100.
I'll be very happy with that. If that's the reality.
I think if the business can be doing 100K a month
I
in
think
a year,
yeah, I see that. I think if the business can be doing 10K a month within 5 months, then that's a pretty good sign of what can come. Because we're only gonna as in like
I think
from setting it up,
I
5
think-
months in, if you can hit 10k, which we will do probably in January,
Yeah.
then there's no reason to say why by the time we hit 30 in October that it couldn't be doing 100k. You're right.
Because also with economy of scale and like
True.
once
Yeah,
we have
true.
systems in place, we have word of mouth, we have like deliverables. Like,
And we'll add new product lines.
We'll
as
add
well,
new products
new
and we'll-
services.
yeah.
Like yeah,
So-
100%.
especially if we end up adding SMMA.
Yes, that was definitely a contributor
So
to it.
with upsells, new marketing methods, expanding the team, like I think 100k in a year. It's obviously very punchy,
Yeah, it is.
but it is
But
doable.
it's also so fun to aim for.
It's
as
so
well.
fun to
That's
aim
the thing.
for.
It's like if you know it's punchy but doable,
Yeah.
you think, okay, well, fuck it, let's just really go. Because we both know next year is going to be big
Next
in
year's
terms
gonna
of
be
like the effort that we're going to be putting into it.
100%.
Like everyone, we know it's going to be a lot for all of us, but we're excited by what the end result. Of
You know what? I'll be real with you. Like when it comes to the goals, my goals are I have money goals, but the things that like really like get my dick hard aren't actually money related as much.
Okay.
I would love to be like, if I could have a net worth of $1 million by 30, I'd like that. That would be great. I think and that's a punchy goal to aim for. But again, I think that's quite punchy, but I think it's doable. We got the crypto bull run next year. We got the business scaling. I've got a couple of other projects. I'm like, if you scale like egregiously, it's doable. Very unlikely, but doable. So that stuff I would like, but the stuff that makes me really excited is the idea of like in a year to know that like the business is crushing it. We have so many clients. I get to work on my best mate. Barney's heading up his whole like own department. And he's like got like fucking 10 people under him.
10 small Barneys.
10 small Barneys, little baby Barneys.
Baby Barneys.
Yeah, baby Barneys. And he's the head, at that point, he's like the head of production for like a massive fucking media agency. That actually, I know it sounds weird, and I'm not even saying it to be like, you know what, man, it's not about my money. I just want to make sure other people, but I think it's because for me, a year ago, roughly, I just started a random comedy podcast. I had no experience in podcasting, and he was the kid that worked behind the bar who had no tech experience. And so to think that a year, or at that point 2 years from that moment, from standing in a pub as just like a comic with an idea for a goofy podcast and him being the kid that's pouring pints, to think that 2 years from that date that I can be running my own media agency with my best mate and have one of my other best mates running up a whole production team, that excites me to fuck.
I'm 100% with you.
Do you know what I mean?
100%.
Because that's like, then it's like, because the thing is, you know, when you're running an agency that's bringing in 100k a month, like, yeah, you're making money. We're making money. So the money will be fine. We'll have a nice house. We'll have, you know, if you have a girl, you'll be patterned. Like, it's fine.
But ironically, though, to that point, whilst that is my like financial goal for the business is to scale it,
Yeah.
I would honestly be quite happy if all the other elements of my life stayed the same by the time I hit 30. I feel like the one thing I need to master is a really profitable business.
Yeah.
And building that and scaling that, and that's what fucking excites me. It's like, yeah,
100%.
it's building a team, it's doing fucking great work for the companies that you work with and the clients you work for, and them being really happy with it and them sharing it and then reinvesting the money and building it. And it's like, I've always had a desire to have a large team of people that we're on a journey together with.
100%. My other goal is by 30, I want Barney to be on 6 figures. That's my goal.
I would definitely back that.
I want Barney to be on 6 figures.
By the time I'm 30.
No, by the time I'm 30.
Oh shit.
As in by this time next year, I want you to be on 6 figures.
You got a fucking good year ahead of you, dude.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
Which is more than feasible, man.
It is more than feasible.
More than fucking
yeah,
feasible.
definitely more than feasible.
So, but yeah, look, if we're gonna get down to brass tacks, for me, what would I like? I mean, yeah, dude, I'd like the agency to be bringing in 100k a month. Between this and any other ventures that I have, consulting work, other businesses, whatever it might be, I'd love to be making, I'd say gross, I'd love to be making 20k a month myself, probably. And I would like to be living, that I don't actually know
That's
yet.
a difficult
I don't know
one.
where I'd like to be living or how I'd like to be living.
Yeah.
But I'm not materialistic, so I mean, I think as long as I had a reasonably nice place, I think I'd be okay. Again, for me, it's about lifestyle. If I know that I can go, if I'm going into my 30s with a hugely profitable business and I get to have a laugh with my best mates, that is sick.
Dude, that's winning.
I get to fucking
Absolutely
pay
winning.
one of my friends like great money and have him have a great quality of life. I get to run a business with my best mate. I get to like, and we have a laugh doing what we do. Like we have such a great time. We're always fucking laughing, the three of us. And like that is so invaluable. And when I think about the life that I lived when I was in corporate and I was working jobs, and you know, even the jobs I've done, it's, you know, the shit and misery that comes with that. So just to be able to wake up every day and not hate myself and hate my job and hate my life and be like, dude, I get to work with some of my best friends and make great money and it's fun work. That's my goal, dude.
No, that's winning. In of itself, that's winning.
100%.
Taking the money aside. So if you can genuinely do something that you're happy and excited about every single day, that's winning, regardless of the money that comes with it. But yeah, the money for me personally.
So what's your goal? What's your goal?
Is a big thing. The financial side of it, I've gone into 50. I want to be doing at least 50K a month for the business.
Yeah.
We can do that. We can call it 100. Call it 100K.
Call it 100K a month.
Let's call it 100K a month by the time we're 30.
Because if we say 50K a month, then it's like, okay, fine. But if you say 100K a month and we miss and we're hitting 50,
that's decent.
We're crushing it, dude. That's decent. Like we're crushing it.
So 100K by
Barney can afford to move like more central, closer to us.
Exactly.
Can like live like fucking closer to us so we can be.
Yeah, you can live next to the studio. Yeah.
Get a camp bag like outside.
It's like, yeah, definitely.
Exactly. Because we'll have so many clients by then, man.
Spend enough time here today. I may as well.
Not that you're bitter though. You've moved on. That's the main thing.
Yeah, it's worth saying we were meant to come in the studio today at 3, and then we emailed Barney this morning
because his phone's not working.
Yeah, we emailed because Barney's phone's not working.
Exactly.
We emailed him and said, "Hey, we're not going to be in at 3. We're going to be in at 6:30. So just a heads up." And because he hasn't had a phone on him, that's been the only way to contact him. And then at like 3 or 5 to 3, I'm at mine with Skeeth and we're getting some work done. And I see my security camera for the studio ping off on my phone. And it's like, there's motion in your studio. And I was like, oh no. And I swipe it. And I see Barney walking in, putting his bag down. And I'm like, oh no. And I just went on the microphone because I can speak through the ring.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude. And then before I say anything, he goes, oh no.
That is true. That's exactly how it went.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I think it would actually be cool to ask Barney, what are your goals?
Yeah, just sack me off completely. That's fine. Yeah.
You said no.
We'll give you like a 10-minute diatribe on how he wants his whole fucking life set up. Excuse me, what are your goals? 100K? Barney, what about you, man? Like, what do you know? What do you think? Because this guy can go fuck himself.
Sorry.
Like, what's
My apologies.
You? No.
Moment's gone. I thought you were done. No,
it's cool.
Don't be a bitch.
Barney,
don't be a bitch, dude. Don't
Barney.
be a bitch. Just come on.
I'd like to get out of the studio.
Yeah. I'd like to go back to the pub, actually. I was saying that to be facetious. I haven't really got a huge amount more to say than that. It was like, I want the agency.
All right, cool. So Barney.
Now I want the agency to be doing 100K a month. And by that point, honestly, that's really all I need in addition to everything staying the way it is now.
Yeah.
With the family set up and my girlfriend and living together and everything like that. Honestly, I'm happy if that all stays the same. If everything else is as it is as of today, I'm happy with that. My main goal by 30 is to do with the business. I just want to scale this because I'm enjoying the process of building it. And I want to just...
I'd like to buy my mum a car. That's one I'd like to add.
Oh, yeah, maybe telling me that. Yeah. I can't wait to like spoil people that have like supported me on the way
100%.
That is a huge
That's what I mean, dude.
thing,
I get more excited. I don't give
Dude,
I don't
I'd rather spend the money on someone else than I would on myself.
Dude,
100%.
If I could look, if I can afford to have like a nice cigar whenever I want, stuff like that, little things, like if I can afford to have a nice cigar, not look at the price and just enjoy it, I would love that. But I get most excited about the idea of being like, oh, dude, my brother, my mum, my godparents, like I want to just, like people that have always backed me. I want to just be like,
I can't wait for that.
Here,
so
you know what I mean? I want to pay for them to like go on holiday and like all this kind of stuff, man.
So yeah, that's really me. As I say, I wasn't trying to be facetious, but it's like, yeah, the business is it, and I'm so lucky in that the other elements of my life are now in a really nice place. It took a long time for them to get to that point, but everything else is really nicely set up. So the business for me is the thing. Yeah, 29.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, what about you, man?
I'm not like that bothered by a financial figure. It's similar to what you were saying about the lifestyle.
Yeah.
Like it's more like I was saying to my friend the other day who we've gone down very different paths and they went into like a typical corporate office job kind of thing. I was talking to her and I was like, I would not know what to do with 30 grand. Because I've just that's never been my motivation. I've not been earning millions behind the bar, but I've never been like, oh, I wish I had just this 2 grand extra so I could do this. It's more of a kind of like, I want to be able to go to this event and not have to worry about the price kind of thing. Or, like,
100%.
stuff like that.
You want to 100% make sure you keep hold of that, by the way.
Yeah.
That's a really fucking great mindset to have. And you really shouldn't be letting money poison that. Because if you can make money and keep that mindset, you've cracked it.
True.
That's a really, like, I would say that. Because what you don't want to do is when you do start making money, fall into the traps of shiny objects.
Like,
Think,
oh,
I've never had
I
this.
want
I've
30,
never been
I want
exposed.
50,
And it's like, don't.
Yeah,
Because I
it's just
would
not
love to have
something-
that.
Well, it's not even I'm on 30 and I want 50. It's I'm on 30, so I'm going to live like I'm on 30. And then I'm on 50, so I'm going to live like I'm on 50. And then you just keep your lifestyle inflation and lifestyle creep.
Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not gonna. If I was on like 6 figures by next year, I wouldn't still. There'd definitely be extra stuff I'm doing.
Of course, yeah.
Makes sense. Apart from
100%.
obviously the typical like, there's people I'd buy shit for, like do stuff for.
Yeah, sure.
Which I kind of have to say now, really.
Well, you're earning 6 figures by October, man. So, like, you know.
Yeah, in terms of long term, because I didn't realize it was going to be next, like the questions for next year. Long term, I want to win an award for this. I don't know if that's a thing, if that even exists.
Interesting.
But I want to be the best in the world at this at some point.
I would never have thought you'd say that. That fills me with inspiration. I want you to win that award.
I don't even know if there's a thing. If there is like a podcast, I'm sure
know
there's a
there
podcast
is, man.
awards. I don't know if there's an editing category or whatever the fuck you want to call it.
I'm sure there is.
I'm
But
sure there
there'll be
is.
something out
having
there.
put the work and I've put in over the last year, like that's relative to podcasts and stuff like that's the one thing that comes to mind.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, editing as a skill.
It's all encompassing.
It's all encompassing, and you can transfer it to editing for all sorts of different things.
And you are fucking good at it.
You are fucking
So,
good at it. You are.
Fair play to you.
And also we're launching another arm to our business
We are.
in January.
Which is very
So
exciting.
it's exciting times,
It's
man.
very exciting, man. Today I'm feeling fucking good.
I'm feeling good
It's
too.
been a great day. We've done a lot of work. with
Comparative
you,
to how we
like-
felt last week.
Yeah, 100%. Like, you know, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling very optimistic,
Hell yeah.
which is exciting. It makes a change.
It does.
It's
I also
nice,
think
man.
having goals fleshed out is very, very important. And
I
very
completely
motivational.
agree. And I
think-
feel like we maybe should have thought about that a bit before we came on camera. But also there's a part of me that thinks it's good that we had to think about it on camera. Because
yeah.
I think it's quite good to actually put it out there and say, yeah, let's hold ourselves accountable because this is what we want to do.
and just having a number where you're like, okay, that's our target.
Yeah.
And then it's quite cool because if your target is like 100K a month in revenue and you're like, okay, well, we're doing, let's say you're like, oh, we're doing this number. You can then just like subtract it. So you can get closer and closer and closer and closer. And that's really exciting.
Yeah, man.
All right. I think we should wrap it up.
Yeah, I think we've gone
This was
through,
a cool update.
everything we wanted.
Next week, I mean, we'll see where we are, but it's nice to have a good win on the books.
Yes, it is.
If you enjoyed the episode, please leave a comment. That would be really awesome because this is a new series, so we could use all the feedback we can get. And if you're listening on streaming services, then please do rate us 5 stars because that means a lot to us too, and it helps us grow. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do subscribe because we're documenting the whole process of growing this business every single week. So you will literally see every single week how we take a business that barely exists into hopefully a 7 or even 8-figure business in the
I'm
future.
so glad we've started this format.
Me too, man.
I'm enjoying
It's
it.
so awesome.
That's
Me
sick.
too. And a spud for the Barnster as well because
I'll do a virtual
hell yeah,
spot.
virtual spud. All right, guys, enjoy. We'll see you next week.